I'll never forget what happened on that road. Not because it was the scariest night of my life, but because, even now, I still don't understand how we made it out alive. Before I tell you what we saw out there, do me a quick favor. If you enjoy real, unsettling stories like this, the kind that stick with you long after they end, make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Now, listen closely. My name's Kenny. My older brother Marcus and I are long-haul truck drivers. The road is basically in our blood. We grew up traveling with our parents, bouncing from state to state, sleeping in motels and truck stops. While other kids dreamed about staying home, we learned to love motion, distance, and endless highways. So when we were old enough, trucking felt natural. We worked for the same company out of Dallas, Texas. One summer, I got assigned a delivery from Dallas all the way to Portland, Oregon. Long haul, multiple days. Most drivers groan at runs like that, but I didn't mind. Marcus had a few days off, so I asked him to ride along. Driving together always made the miles disappear. The first few days were perfect. Clear skies, easy roads, good music, laughing about old stories. We weren't rushing, stopping when we needed to, doing everything right. That's why what happened next felt so wrong. 3 days into the trip, just after leaving a small town in Northern California, we saw it. A massive orange sign stretched across the freeway. Road closed ahead. Exit now. No explanation, no detour signs. Just a forced exit onto a narrow country road. At first, we didn't panic. The GPS showed another highway about 30 miles ahead. Easy reconnect, no problem. So we kept going. Almost immediately, the road felt empty. No other cars, no houses, just open land and long shadows. After about an hour, the fields faded away, replaced by thick forest. Tall trees pressed in on both sides, their branches blocking out most of the moonlight. The darkness felt heavier here, like it was pressing down on us. And then the silence hit. Not normal nighttime silence. Dead silence. No insects, no wind. Even the sound of our tires felt muted, like the road itself was swallowing noise. Around midnight, Marcus shifted in his seat and said he needed to take a leak. We pulled over near a small clearing. He headed into the trees while I stayed behind, checking the trailer like I always do. That's when I smelled it. It was foul, rotten, like spoiled meat mixed with wet, moldy fabric. I told myself it was probably a dead animal, something roadkill had dragged into the woods. Still, my stomach twisted. I climbed into the cab to grab my flashlight, and when I turned back, Marcus was already walking toward me. He looked pale. "You see that light?" he asked. "What light?" I said. He pointed deep into the forest. Between the trees there was a small glow. Dim, steady, like a candle just floating there. Then it vanished. I started to speak, but Marcus's eyes suddenly went wide. "Don't move," he whispered. I turned slowly. Across the road, hanging from the trees, were shapes. I raised the flashlight and aimed it into the darkness. My heart dropped. They were bodies, at least 8 of them dangling from ropes. Some hung completely still. Others swayed gently, like they were breathing. A few looked old, bloated, discolored. One was missing a shoe. Another's shirt was soaked in something dark. I turned the flashlight off. I don't know why. Maybe part of me believed that if I couldn't see them, they couldn't see me. That's when I noticed something worse. Another light. This one was moving. It flickered between the trees, slow and deliberate, like someone was carrying it walking toward us. Marcus grabbed my arm. "We need to go. Now." We ran. We slammed the truck door shut and I hit the gas without even checking the GPS. Tires screamed as we tore down that road. About 10 minutes later, Marcus leaned toward the mirror. "There's someone in the road." I looked. 5, maybe 6 figures stood where we'd just been, all facing us, all completely still. One of them wore something on his head, a mask or a helmet. It looked like an animal skull. Big curved horns stretched out from the sides. I floored it. We didn't stop until we reached a brightly lit gas station, full of people. Only then did my hands start shaking. We called the cops, told them everything. They said they'd check it out. We never heard back. Weeks later, another driver at a truck stop mentioned something called Hollow Creek Road. Said locals avoided it. "Bad things happen out there," he told us. "People go missing." After that trip, I couldn't sleep. I kept dreaming about bodies swaying in trees, and that light moving through the forest. I quit long-haul driving soon after. Took a job closer to home. Marcus still drives, but he doesn't talk much anymore, especially not about that night. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I still wonder, what would have happened if we'd stayed just a little longer? I was only 14 years old when it happened, but even now, 15 years later, I still get chills thinking about that night. At the time, my parents had gone into the city to visit my aunt and left me behind to take care of our small farm. We lived far out in the country, no close neighbors, no street lights, just open fields and a long gravel road that ended right at our house. I wasn't scared. I'd stayed alone before. I actually liked the quiet. That weekend, my dad had scheduled a late delivery. A truck driver was supposed to drop off fencing materials around 9 p.m. My only job was simple: be there, help unload, and sign the paperwork. That night, the sky was pitch black. No moon, no stars. I sat on the porch with our dog Max watching the road. 9 o'clock came and went. Then 10 o'clock. Nothing. I started to worry, but around 10:45, I finally saw headlights in the distance. The truck slowed, then stopped. Not in the driveway. About 100 feet down the road. The headlights stayed on. The engine kept running, but no one got out. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Something about it felt wrong. I stood up and walked a little closer, stopping near the gate. That's when the truck suddenly crept forward, slow, deliberate, like it was sneaking up on me. I stepped back. The truck finally pulled into the driveway and stopped near the barn. The engine shut off. The lights went out. Silence. A man climbed down from the cab. He looked off. Dirty shirt, old jeans, boots caked with mud, or something darker. His face was thin, his eyes hard to read in the darkness. He didn't greet me. He just stared and asked, "Your dad around?" I remembered exactly what my dad had warned me about. Never tell a stranger you're alone. "He's inside," I lied. "Not feeling well." The man nodded slowly, then smiled. "Guess it's just you and me then." My stomach dropped. He started unloading the truck. Massive rolls of fencing wire, wooden posts, heavy bags of nails. I helped, keeping my distance. He barely spoke, just muttered to himself, but I caught pieces of it. Something about his dog going missing, something about people who steal and never get caught. Then he dropped a wooden post on purpose. "Mind helping me climb up back?" he asked. "Can't reach the last few things alone." I shook my head. "I need to stay here and count." He stared at me, not angry, not surprised, just quiet. Then he said, "I used to live out here, long time ago. Knew a girl who looked just like you." I didn't respond. A few minutes later he tried again. "You sure your dad's inside?" "Yeah," I said. "He'll be out soon." He looked at the barn. Then the house. No lights on. His smile faded. Then he asked me to climb into the cab to grab a pen from the glove box. Said he needed it to finish the paperwork. I can't, I said. Dad told me not to touch other people's trucks. That's when his expression changed. You're a little stubborn, huh? I took a step back. I can get my dad if you want. He didn't move, just stared at me. Finally, he sighed, walked back to the truck and grabbed the pen himself. He handed me the papers. My hands were shaking as I signed. I thanked him and walked toward the house. He didn't leave. When I reached the door, I glanced through the window. Max was growling. Outside, the man was still there, standing near the truck like he was waiting for something. He stayed for nearly an hour. No engine, no lights, just sitting there. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table with a knife in my hand, and Max pressed against my leg. Around 1:30 a.m., the engine finally started. I watched through the curtain as the truck backed out and disappeared down the road. I never saw him again. The next day, my parents came home. My dad was furious when I told him everything. He called the company that sent the delivery. They told him the driver was a temp hire. No name, no ID, no records. Just a one-time job from an agency that never returned their calls. To this day, I don't know who that man really was. But I know one thing for sure. If I had climbed into that cab or stepped into that trailer, I wouldn't be here telling this story. Have you ever had a moment where your body knew something was wrong before your mind could explain why? This happened a few years ago during a cross-country drive with my boyfriend Liam. We were moving west from Virginia to Oregon to pick up the last of our things. We'd already made the trip once before, but this time felt different. We were exhausted. No sightseeing, no long breaks, just gas, bathrooms, and coffee. Our two dogs, Bear and Luna, big shepherd mixes, rode in the back seat. Protective, alert. I never thought I'd need them for anything more than company. I was wrong. It was around 4 a.m. when we pulled into a quiet rest area somewhere in the middle of the country. I don't even remember the state. Everything looked the same at that hour. The lot was almost empty. One sedan, two semi-trucks parked off to the side. Liam had been driving for hours, so we decided to switch. I offered to use the restroom first while he stretched and let the dogs out. The restroom sat up on a small hill, out of sight from the parking area. Liam walked part of the way with me, just to be safe. I laughed it off, but I didn't argue. After I finished, I started walking back down the hill alone. Liam stayed behind to use the restroom. It was dark, the kind of dark that feels thick. The only sounds were the wind and my boots on the path. When I reached the bottom of the hill, I saw Bear and Luna sitting in the car, tails wagging. Then I heard it. A semi-truck engine starting. At first, I didn't think much of it. Maybe the driver was heading back on the road. But the truck didn't move toward the exit. Instead, it slowly rolled toward the car section of the lot. Toward me. The headlights snapped on, bright and blinding, flooding my vision. I raised my hand to shield my eyes and took a step back. Then the lights started flashing. Once, twice, then rapidly. Flash, flash, flash. Like someone trying to get my attention. I froze. Bear and Luna barked once from the car, not excited. Low, cautious. I looked around. No one else. Liam was still up the hill. The truck crept closer, slower than walking speed. My heart started racing. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe he thought I was someone else. The truck stopped. Silence again. I took one step toward the car. Both dogs growled, loud this time. Their ears were up, eyes locked on the truck. That's when the driver's door creaked open. I stopped breathing. A man stepped out. I couldn't see his face, but he was tall, heavy built, wearing a hooded jacket. He didn't say a word, just stood there with one foot on the ground, watching me. I didn't move. Then I heard Liam's voice behind me. "You good?" He walked straight up, didn't hesitate, wrapped an arm around my shoulders, and stared the truck driver down. Without saying a single word, Liam raised his hand and flipped him off. The man stayed still for a few seconds. Then he climbed back into the cab. The door slammed. The engine roared. The truck peeled out of the rest stop, taking the turn too fast, and vanished down the highway. Only then did I realize I'd been holding my breath. Back in the car, I told Liam everything. The lights, the slow approach, the door opening. That's when he told me something I wish I'd never learned. Some truckers do that. They flash their lights at women they think are alone. Some are just creeps. Others are worse. I felt sick. I was wearing a hoodie and jeans. I had 2 big dogs. I hadn't said a word to that man. And still, he tried. What if I hadn't had the dogs? What if Liam had taken longer? What if I'd walked over to ask what he wanted? I don't know what his intentions were, but I know this. He didn't stop his truck to say hello. Now every time I stop at a rest area, no matter how quiet, no matter how safe it looks, I keep one eye on the road and one hand on the leash. Because sometimes the most dangerous warning is the one your body feels before your mind catches up.